think that we are that much westernized in that way. We use Western technology, yes, but we don't. We
Or
do
maybe
gear it to our audience here.
or maybe Western perception of the African. I mean, that's equally negative also.
I think this was very, very cultural and very local. And I think the advertising agencies in this country really do a very good job on that. That they do look, they don't go too overboard for the Western look. They do take into consideration who our markets are here, who the people are here, and what appeals to the people. So I think the advertising agencies do a very good job here in bearing that in mind.
Okay, thank you very much, Joan. I'm going to turn the next question to Archie. I know the ZBC has often slated advertisers for not wanting to advertise in certain programs like local dramas or sports that have mass appeal to Africans. What would you say to this criticism?
Well, I think it's a fairly fatuous argument. As far as I'm concerned, ZBC itself and ZTV are amongst the largest primary sponsors of media research. ZTV and ZBC go out there and they actually find out who is watching what specific programs which are screened on television. Okay? They do that for a very simple reason. They know that advertising revenue depends on providing that that type of information to the advertiser. So he can selectively match what product he has and the product benefits which he is trying to sell to a specific target audience who is going to be watching that particular program. Okay? So one of the things we look for is, in fact, the level of viewership or readership or listenership. We want to know how many people are actually watching a particular program at a particular time. That information is provided to us by the media owners themselves. Once we've got that information, we can also get information about the socioeconomic groupings which are watching that particular program. If I, therefore, have a product which is not targeted at the segment who is watching local drama, there's absolutely no point in my advertising my product in that particular segment. It's all a matching process. That's what we're trying to do. I think there might be some criticism that you might say, well, why is a product like, well, I won't use a brand name, but let's say a roller meal coming on perhaps in the middle of something like Santa Barbara, to give an example. Okay, yeah, I would say probably that is, from my point of view, a case of bad matching. Okay, however, I think every advertiser has a specific idea of what they're trying to achieve, who they're trying to speak to, and I can comment on my own part that from our side, it's a very careful selection. It depends how professional other marketing people are in going through that matching process.
I mean, to what extent can we afford to be professional to the exclusion of development aspects? I mean, like, there's a need to develop local drama, local culture in terms of how it's transmitted on television, and perhaps the support of your organizations could...
Okay.
Okay, Archie, sorry, we've been wound out for this particular segment. So viewers will be back with you in a moment on this quite salient point.
Who's gonna rule the roost?
Hello, welcome to the second segment of this week's Tonight program. And if you had been tuned to us earlier on, you know we're talking about advertising, the impact of advertising in our particular society. Does it create fads, or is it emulating what society actually wants? Just before the break, we're talking to Mr. Archibald Sadza about the particular responsibility of the advertising world in a developing nation vis-a-vis developing certain dramas and cultural aspects in television and radio. And should they support it or shouldn't they not, perhaps at the cost?
Well, I think you mustn't confuse the two things. As a professional marketing person, when I'm advertising a product, I'm trying to sell a product. I'm trying to get you, the consumer, to part with your money for something, a product which I have. I'm trying to do that by selling a specific benefit. It's either cheaper, it's better, cleans better, or whatever. Okay. What you're talking about in terms of social responsibility now comes to the question of sponsorship. That is a totally different thing, okay? Now, when you come to, because there you're talking about putting in money where you are not going to get a measurable response back in terms of I sold X more units or Y more units of my product. And that's what sponsorship is about, okay? Now the question really is, should people be doing more to sponsor those type of programs because that's the way we wish the country to develop. It's very difficult to say. I think it all depends on bottom line, how much money you have got at the end of the day to be able to invest in that, and exactly what your corporate culture says about getting involved in those kind of activities.
Chaz, you wanted to say something. What do you want to?
Yes, I just wanted to come back to the point about portraying women in advertising and saying that they are portrayed in a certain way, and also to come back onto, in a way, sponsorship. I think also we have to throw the ball back into the media's court, right? The media creates the culture within which we work. For instance, if we watch Dallas tonight, Santa Barbara tomorrow, and Dynasty the next night, they create that sort of environment by which we have to sort of work within. And I think it also takes the courage of the media itself to say, well, we don't want this, we want that. And then working within that, I think will force the advertising fraternity to say, well, these are the sort of ads we put into specific areas. And it works two ways, really, and I think...
So you feel that responsibility should be thrown right back to the media people?
Well, not only the media people, as well as the advertisers. I do feel that, as you said, you know, that the sort of sponsorship is very much aligned to certain things and not to others, and it's very obvious what those certain things are. I can see huge companies supporting a sport that a minority watches, right? And I think that is socially irresponsible because their market is seen to be a little market. And I think if we want to be economically viable and see a larger thing, then they should actually look at their markets without bringing their personalities into sort of advertising. But these are sort of fights we have within the fraternity anyhow.
Is it a raging debate, or is it something just a little Wayne voice? What happens?
No, it was discussed at length, and I think sensibly, to try and find a solution to the problem.
Okay, we're going to take a call, the first call of the evening. Hello and good evening.
Hello?
Hello.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
I'd like to ask the board, whoever it is there, whether they think that the conduct of certain advertising agencies is to be questioned sometimes.
Is what? I beg your pardon?
Questioned.
Mm-hmm.
For example, I can think of an advertisement that has been running for many years. It occurs not very frequently, but comes in regularly, every 3 or 4 months or so, of a certain soap manufacturer, which shows a lady who is making up some soap foam on her hands and indicating that this soap will improve the quality of the complexion of the individual using it, and as an example produces a dead leaf and then uses the soap on the leaf, and then immediately after she shows you also the leaf once it's been used, you see a bright new brand new leaf. Do you think that this is something that the advertising agency is doing very well? Do you think that this is something aimed at some cultural aspect of our nation? Do you think this is a good thing, or do you think it's a bad thing?
Okay, I don't know who you particularly wanted to refer that question to, but maybe I'll ask our people here. I don't know if you've heard that question. So who'd like to assume that? Would like to take it on?
I didn't hear it.
Oh, he was saying that there's a particular advert, I'm not quite sure what it is for some kind of a soap, and I think it's a leaf, and some woman who becomes immediately rejuvenated, a leaf that comes immediately to life. He says, do you feel that this is a reflection of culture, or is it a reflection of, is it a sensible advert, basically? I don't know, think
Well,
the creator.
can I perhaps jump straight in there, because I think this is a very important point. Any advertising has got a promise, okay? A promise of some benefit, okay? Now, we would hope that the advertiser is socially responsible, the advertising agency is ethically and socially responsible, and that no ads get into or are placed on a medium without some sort of consideration. But where something is wrong, there does exist the Advertising Standards Authority, and complaints can be registered by the public. I think the The only thing which I think is a little bit wrong in this country is that unlike countries like the UK, the ASA does not advertise itself. So I don't think as many people are aware of the fact that there is a forum in which they can complain about ads which they feel are either irresponsible, ethically wrong, or just blatant lies. But the vehicle does exist, and I think Mike can actually expand on that.
That's the ethical aspect of your association.
That is correct. There is an Advertising Standards Authority, as I mentioned before, which is a subcommittee of the Advertising Media Association. They're not, it's not a well-known body. I know in the past that there have been one or two complaints from the general public through letters to the national press that have been taken up by the ASA. But that really is a minority situation. In fact, most of our complaints come from advertisers and advertising agencies who are questioning an advertisement that's been flighted either by the advertiser or by the agency, rather than from the general public, who he or she may be actually querying the truthfulness or the ethics of a certain advertisement. But
Conversely, while you're looking at awards of the best adverts, don't you also look at some irresponsible adverts? I mean, like become the watchdog of the public. Before you answer that, Mike, or you, Tommy, I'm going to take another call. Hello? Hello?
Hello.
Good evening.
I'd just like to ask a couple of questions.
Please do.
Why is it that, I don't know whether the promoters of advertising have any control over it, but why do we have advertisements when we can't get the article?
Okay, one. Yes? And the other? That's off. Why do we have advertisements when we can't get the item?
That's a very good question. Very good question. I would think from a media point of view, you often get a situation where consumer advertising is booked with a media well in advance, and often a situation of shortages come through during the campaign of that specific product, and it seems that either the advertiser or the agency concerned perhaps can't get to the media in time to withdraw it. Tommy might like to comment. From an
Joanna
advertising
wanted to say
agency.
something specific. You want to say something?
Yes, thank you, Simone. The advertisers, plus what Michael has said, which is one of the situations, but another situation is very typical. You had the Pepsi-Cola wars, and everybody drinks Coca-Cola, and everybody knows about Coca-Cola. And in fact, one of the chief executives from Coca-Cola was flying home one night, and the passenger in the plane next to him said to him, "Why on earth do you advertise Coca-Cola? I mean, everybody knows Coca-Cola, everybody drinks it. And why do you have to continue advertising it?" And he said, "Would you like me to tell the pilot of this plane to stop flying?"
So the moral of the story is that you have to continue advertising.
The higher you fly, the more you can keep the engine going.
Okay.
Coming back to the question that Mike raised and the viewer raised.
Before you answer it, there's another phone call. Hello, good evening.
Okay, hello.
Hello, we can hear you.
Yeah. One of these washing powder advertises that two ladies are fighting and they tear off the trousers. Now, those people who have watched that particular advert, frame to frame, they can see that one trouser's pocket is white, whereas the other one is yellow in color. And they try to show that one is dirty and this is washing more whiter. How far this is admissible?
Okay, back to the ethics of advertising. How far is that sort of advert admissible? Is it ethical to advertise something like that? Is it realistic?
Well, in terms of, yes, a particular product washes whiter than the other product, it's semantics really. You can say it washes whiter, but not necessarily the whitest. You can't, it's not ethical to say best, but you can say better.